You are a cervical cancer survivor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you mind walking me through your story of how things happen,
Okay.
of what you're doing different, and information that you can share with other women?
Sure. I'll be more than happy to. One of the things that I want to say is that I do annual examinations every single year. And starting at the age of 60, I started to spot.
Okay.
And which was a major concern because I was considered to be postmenopausal at that time. So I went to my doctor, they did tests, came back, everything was negative. At 65, I kind of got tired of the situation and I went to another gynecologist, a female gynecologist who turned around and did some extensive testing, came back and said, you know what, it looks like you do have cancer.
Wow.
And within 2 weeks, I had surgery. And good news is that the surgery was successful.
Okay.
It was considered to be a stage 1B,
Okay.
which means that there's 99% chance that it will not return.
Okay.
I did not have to have any treatments or anything like that. So
Wow.
I was very, very blessed.
Definitely.
At that point. So it's just being in tune to my body that
Right.
that raised a big, hey, you know what? Something needs to stop and you need to go see somebody else.
Right. So did they tell you what caused it? Considering you were going to a doctor previous, you did your regular exams. Did they say what caused it, or just Mother Nature over time, living life?
It, I'm not going to say it was Mother Nature.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that at all.
Okay.
It appears that in the uterus itself or in the cervix itself, there's a portion of the lining.
Mm-hmm.
And if that lining gets over a certain point, that is when it's a concern to them.
Okay.
So as mentioned, I started going at the age of 60, going
Right.
back to them, saying, hey, something's wrong.
Right.
And that particular lining was right on point.
Right. Right.
So it kind of got to the point where it annoyed me because I'm 65 years old at that point.
Right.
And I said, I should not be spotting or anything like that. I should be having a good life right now.
Exactly.
And that's what made me go to a different specialist.
Well, good for you for taking, for being an advocate for yourself. So were those the only symptoms that you had, the spotting and things of that nature over that course of time?
Correct. I had no pain whatsoever. And honestly, to go back to what you asked if there was something that caused it. And I do apologize because I can't say the word, but it was
Endometrius? No?
Yes.
Endometrius. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, because
Okay.
that's something similar to like fibroids. It's kind of
Exactly.
in that field.
Exactly. Exactly. And at one point they did tell me that I had a fibroid, but it wasn't anything to be worried about or anything like that.
Right.
So, and I do want to regress a little bit. Going back into my early 20s, I was told by my general practitioner I need to have annual mammograms because my grandmother had breast cancer at the age of 62, I believe it was. And so at that point, that the doctor told me that I'm prone to fibroid tumors.
Okay.
But this was the only one I ever had.
Okay.
God willing.
Right, right. No, that makes total sense. So when you found out, how did you handle that news? I mean, I know that number one, cancer itself, the word is super scary and it's intimidating. So for you, how was that for you emotionally?
Emotionally, I'm gonna be honest, I was numb. I was totally numb. One reason why I was numb is because the gynecologist was very, very reassuring that everything was going to be fine and everything like that, and not to be concerned, but to be concerned.
Right.
And so with that, I was just like, okay. And I was, as mentioned, I was numb. Didn't share it with any family members or anything like that because I was told that you're not going to find out the true extent of it until after the surgery.
Okay.
And so 2 weeks later, as mentioned, I had the surgery, and 4 days later, that's when I found out what the true stage of that cancer was.
Right, and it was stage 1, which is
stage 1B, they say.
Stage 1B, okay, to be found. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, at what point did you share with your family? And why? And why at that point?
I shared it with my daughter
Okay.
at that point after I had the surgery.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, I recovered from the surgery extremely
Oh
well.
wow, that's
So there was
good.
no way that she even knew. I mean,
Right.
I walked, went to the store, did this, that, and the other.
Right.
She never had any type of clue that there was something going on with me.
Right.
But I shared with her once I got the news
Hmm.
of the stage of it, then I shared it with her and I let her know because I didn't want to concern her at that point because a few years before she had lost her father,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to be the problem at that point for her. I wanted her to start living her life and go on and be normal.
Right.
And I didn't want to raise any alarms. However, I did want to raise an alarm to her to make sure that she stays on top of her annuals, to stay on top of this, not to play with anything.
Exactly.
Even though doctors play a guessing game,
Hmm.
basically, based on what we tell them,
Right.
you still have to utilize any kind of care from them if possible.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Exactly. So, and as mentioned, I've been having mammograms since I was in my early 20s,
Hmm.
and each one has come back extremely well,
That's good. Right.
So, I've just been blessed. So with me having this, and my mother in her later stages of life
Hmm.
before she transitioned
Yes, ma'am.
was diagnosed with cervical cancer.
Really? At what age? You mind me asking?
She was 74. Now
74.
we had a different situation with that, and in that, let's say she was diagnosed 3 weeks later, she was gone. And it was different things that happened. So with me, I'm thinking technology is different
Right.
now,
And it is.
and boom, don't
Yeah,
play with this, don't be scared, or
definitely.
whatever. And that's what made me, act on everything very quickly.
Right.
And that's what made me tell my daughter so that she would be prepared, in the future
Hmm.
to make sure she stays on top of things.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. So, what would you say, aside from sharing your story with everyone, what would you tell people about cancer? And what I mean by that, in my opinion, my mom is a cancer survivor. I believe that cancer changes you, either for the better, it may change your relationship. Hopefully, the person is still here with us on earth. But what do you say about cancer?
What do I say about cancer? That's a very good question. Cancer to me is a very tricky thing. And the reason why I say that is because I had no idea that there was something growing inside of me. I had no idea that there was something different about me, and I felt great.
Right,
I absolutely felt great.
right.
This is before surgery,
Okay,
and after surgery,
okay.
there was. I could say I had no pain or anything like that. I recovered absolutely fine. And, the doctor said, you're strong, you're
Hmm.
healthy. There's no reason for you not to have a good recovery. I want you to walk those stairs every day. I want
Right.
you to do this every day.
Okay.
And I did everything that they told me to.
Fantastic.
One of the things that I say is, stay on top of stay
Right.
with your annuals,
Okay.
go to the doctor.
Thank you so much, Miss Margaret. Thank you for sharing your story. I hope that you all were really listening to some things that she said. And the key takeaway for me was when she said it, fact that she decided to go see another doctor, something was found and it was taken care of ASAP and she had minor side effects. Now, everything affects everybody different, but I'm super, super thankful for Miss Margaret sharing her story with all of us. So we have an idea of cervical cancer from someone who had it as opposed to me just giving you statistics and running with it. So take care of yourself. Think about what you eat, what you drinking, the movement that you have going on, and get some rest. Get some rest. It's okay to rest. It really is. All right, so till next time, the question is, what are you doing to disrupt cancer now?